So I want to clean up the exhaust for the 150R, and FMF doesn't sell the exhaust hangers by themselves. They make them specifically per canister, apparently. But I did find a generic one that I can just strap on there, so I'm going to drill out these rivets, remove that, take off this sticker, and try and clean up some of these rivets back here that are all rusted out. And I guess I got to find a way to get rid of this adhesive, but that should clean up the can pretty nice, and with just the generic strap on there, I think it'll be great. Let's start with getting the sticker off. Maybe if we get lucky, we can peel it off. I finally picked up a heat gun. It was like the cheapest one on Amazon for $17, so if the house burns down, you'll know why. It's already smoking. That seems fine. The rest of this I think I can take off with a cleaning wheel. Just wanted to get the big chunks off. Alright, let's take this bracket off now. What are the chances this thing just pops right off? Or it's glued. Damn, alright. Not too bad. I guess that's a plate and not individual rivets. I'm trying to get this end cap off so we can get that plate out of there. Alright, I did some pretty unspeakable things to this can to get this cap off. I ended up drilling out these rivets, taking my spring tool, hooking it in there, clamping this in the vise, and then hammering the outside edge here to kind of get it off. It took quite a bit of effort just to get the end cap off, but now I've got it exposed. Got our inner baffle here. Got our packing. There's that plate that I wanted to get rid of. And actually, what we can do is we can probably drill these out, put the plate back in, and have the plate in there still. I think we should probably repack this while we're in here. I mean, might as well, right? Oh yeah. Also, there's a little ring that seats right in there, and it's got a tiny little Allen head in there. Didn't even notice it until I was trying to beat this thing off. Phrasing. So I picked up these cleaning wheels from Pryme MX, and I'm going to go ahead and see what that can do for our exhaust. Alright, before I go too much farther cleaning up the pipe, I'm going to put some rivets back into it. Let's get the end cap back on there. There we go. Got our holes nice and lined. Let's pop some rivets in. There we go. One of these days I'll get a pneumatic rivet gun, so I won't be throwing that stuff all over the garage. Alright, so next up I'm going to rivet the base plate from the old hanger in here. There we go, line that up. Pop some more rivets in there. Let's see if I can tighten them up this time instead of doing one at a time so I don't lose all of them. Not too bad. This one's a little proud, but the other one's pretty flush. So I picked up some FMF packing for the pipe, and it specifically mentions that it's recommended for the 4.1. That's why I grabbed this thing. Never done this before, so this should be an interesting experience. Got some gloves on because I don't want to be touching all the fiberglass. I think I've cleaned up the pipe as much as possible for now. I'm going to do another run on it after it's all back together, but riveted the plate in there and then got the end cap back onto the main core. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with this strip here. And we're going to make a donut out of that and shove that into the end of the canister right here. We do have a whole bunch of directions on the back of the bag if I get stuck. So I got the donut shoved all the way down in the end cap. It's pretty hard to see. But you got to kind of watch out for the rivets. They stick out a bit, so kind of work it around those. But once it's shoved in there, it fits pretty nice and tight. So looking at the instructions, it looks like this is the shortest little run of the kind of cloth here, and that goes down into the end cap. And then we want to leave about, I think it's like an inch and a half at the end. But this actually goes all the way to the end, so I'm just going to cut it along this line right here, and it should wrap all the way to the edge of the core. So let's cut down this line. Kind of shoving it down into the end cap as I work it in. Alright, I'm going to give an attempt to try and wrap it with some painter's tape and see if I can close it up a bit. Let's pull this off just a touch. Back here. I think we can really just wrap this tight. There we go. Sorry about the heater in the background. But it is cold in here. So I think the idea with the painter's tape is that it'll burn off and release the batting into the pipe a little bit better after it heats up. Probably don't want to use a ton of it, but I also just want this to go in easy. I don't want to fight this for 2 hours. Sure, looks good enough. So now I've got to get this sausage into here, and I did a couple marks on the end cap to kind of orient it because it actually is directional on the inside. If you look at that, it's not like completely centered up, so I had to kind of figure out how it went back together because I did not do that when I took it apart. Let's see if we can manage to get this in here without too much effort. Not too bad so far, but the end cap's where it's going to fight us, I think. Yeah. And then I want to look in here and make sure we're lining up that tube, which is a little off right now. Most of this will probably be off camera, but the inner core needs to line up with the exit hole, which, of course. And we're going to have to squeeze this thing on the edges to get the cap in, which I'll probably do in a vise. Let's bring it over to the vise. This is kind of why I didn't want to finish out the outer surface until it was all reinstalled, because I knew I'd have to give it a little bit of persuasion to get in here. Alright, so if we look through here into the nice light behind, you can see that the core is pretty much lined up in there. Might have to come down just a touch. And before we smack this cap all the way in, we're going to do a little seam of silicone, high temperature silicone, all the way around it. All right, those holes are pretty much lined up. See if we can get those screws back in there and clean up some of this silicone. Well, now this weighs substantially more with the packing in there, but we can go ahead and clean up the surface finish now that we're done manhandling it and throwing it in the vise and goobering it up with silicone, and it should come out pretty nice. So while the pipe isn't perfect, I think it's a lot better than it was when we first started with the, construction adhesive all over it. There are some dings and dents and some pretty deep gouges, but honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. And I actually like the look of it so much that I might take the finish off the mid pipe and the header. I almost forgot I have to put the little insert back in. It's been in the freezer for the last few days to make this a lot easier than it was taking it out. Should shrink it down just enough to kind of work it in without beating on it, hopefully. Wait, so this way? No, looks like we're going to end up beating on it. Ta-da! Alright, so I got the mid pipe and the header out, and I think I'm going to take the finish off of these. I could always reheat them to kind of get some of that bluing back, but with the color scheme that I'm going for on the bike, I don't think the blue is really going to be all that great. So let's hit these with the cleaning wheel. It'll give us an opportunity to take out these stains and some of the weird smacks from the Kickstarter, I think that's from, and just overall clean it up. Alright, so I'm going to pop on the exhaust now, but before I do that, I'm going to wipe it down with some isopropyl alcohol to see if I can get rid of any and all grease and fingerprints on here, so that way they don't appear when it's getting hot. Got a new exhaust gasket here. Stay. There we go. Alrighty, got our pipe and our new hanger, which we're going to have to bend to kind of conform to the shape. This should do. And with that, the CRF150R exhaust is done. I think it is a huge transformation from what it was before, and I'm pretty stoked with how it came out. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Nice and tight. Everything is solid.